IVM.
Hey, it's been a great week on IVM Podcast. If you're not following us on social media, please make sure you are. We are IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. This week on Keeping It Queer, Naveen talks to prominent author Devdutt Patnaik to explore queerness as depicted in Indian mythology. On Cyrus Says, Cyrus meets the film critic and writer Rajasthan, and the duo quickly descend into a whirlwind of movie references. On LBB, catch a fun event in Delhi happening soon and a contest lined up for you on the LBB I Found Awesome podcast. On Hustle Science, hosts Ranveer and Tejaswin talk to entrepreneur Pranav Marwa from Thinkubate about his journey. Also, if you missed last week, make sure you catch Sahil Qatar on their first episode. That was a great show. On Paisa Vaisa, if you missed last week's episode, we had a fun back-to-school special episode with a bunch of really smart 10-year-olds who asked Anupam questions about inflation, taxes, and more. Try and listen to as many of these shows as you can. And now, on to your show.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Simplified, in which we discuss and desiccate and dismember
each other, and this wonderful audio illusion that went viral about a few weeks back. You know which one you're talking about? Is the Yanny-Laurel thing, and then the subsequent brainstorm green needle, green
and Chuck has gone very deeply into it and brought out a really good analysis of the whole thing. And really hope you enjoy it.
At the end of it, you will be scratching your head and wondering, questioning reality. But hey, that's just the nature of what we do.
Yes.
See
what's
you on the
real
other side,
and what's not. It's a deeper question, and I hope you really enjoy.
What's real and what's Liverpool? Stay tuned. We'll be right back after a few short seconds.
Hey, what's good, you guys? It's your boy Ranveer Alabadia from the YouTube channel Beer Biceps, and the Beer Biceps team is bringing you Hustle Science. Hustle Science is basically a show where we interview hustlers. We ask them about what made them legendary. We ask them about their success secrets. We go to the core of their legendary status in life. It's going to be hosted by my boy Tejaswin Gumber and yours truly, Ranveer Alabadia. Make sure you catch Hustle Science on the IVM Podcasting app and website, or any kind of podcasting platform that you use to get your podcasts. Make sure you check it out. The episodes are going to be out every single Tuesday.
So, hello, welcome. It's Simplified O'Clock again. Thank you for tuning in, or as is more likely, accidentally queued up this podcast as a better podcast just got over. A wise man once said, Naren, half the clicks on your banner ad are by mistake and the other half is by a click farm. So it's wonder actually if we have a listen farm.
The poor plight of people being paid to listen to Simplified. Anyway, we are 2/3 of our usual hosting trinity. Because 1/3 of us has gone off to make some PPTs to further the capitalist agenda. So is unable to join us. So in short, Shriketh is absent.
One day the non-PPT making bourgeoisie will rise up. I wonder if that's why his Instagram just had a photo of him getting drunk on his 7th sangria with the comment, ditch those lame idiots with some excuse of making a PPT, ha ha ha. Anyway, so people who are tuning into the show for the first time, we usually start off this show by talking a little bit about ourselves, but we lead such boring lives that we actually talk about some random fact that's happened to us when life was more interesting. So we are both going to look back at our engineering days. So when I was in engineering, Naren, the Nokia 1100 was all the rage, that unforgettable phone. And one of the most beautiful things about the 1100 was you could customize it no end. Like these days you customize your ringtone and your wallpaper, but those days you'd actually customize the damn phone itself, the physical phone. You know, you had all these different cases and stuff like that.
Yeah, you used to get those covers
in various shapes and stuff. It was damn nice. I even saw somebody had a Pokemon themed one. So like all sorts of rubbish. But a friend and I took things to another level where so the phones, you would get this plastic cover, this plastic case which would actually waterproof the case. So I thought, hey, what if I remove everything, keep it to bare skeleton, and put it inside this plastic case. So actually I removed the back cover and the front cover, keeping only the rubber number thing. So it is basically, you could see the entire skeleton of the phone, and then I would put this whole thing inside a plastic thing. So a friend nicknamed it the iRobot 1100. So, that was pretty awesome. That phone died a very easy death, actually, unsurprisingly.
Yeah. So, okay, my fact about myself is I genuinely once had my answer paper in an exam eaten by a cow. in Nepal. Yeah. So it's a long story.
Professor, my answer paper was eaten by a cow.
Yeah. And I actually passed that exam also.
Because it was a cow and you were in a right-wing college.
Actually, what happened was, so we had a lot of cows in Manipal. And it was my workshop exam. So I had written stuff on the paper and I was doing my workshop sample. And a cow put its head into the window and took this. But I was so athletic, and I'm not bragging, but I ran out of the door, went round the building, chased the cow, and beat the cow. Yeah. So Usain Bolt also, he would be proud of doing things like this. So I overtook the cow. I snatched the paper from its thing. And thanks to the force of my personality, it just yielded the thing. It didn't eat
Amazing.
it.
But then you can, all the jokes that, eventually all of engineering papers become cow dung, etc. So all these jokes you can... Anyway, we will move on to another section that we... frequently have on the show, which is courtesy either the family or my building's WhatsApp group, which is the profundity of the day. And this comes this week from my building WhatsApp group. Anyway, this is a picture of the Buddha. Good morning, as always. Don't compare your life to others. There's no comparison between the sun and the moon. They shine when it's their time.
Wow.
Like, the sentiment is nice, except that the moon doesn't actually shine. It sort of like reflects the light of the sun. So in effect, what you're saying is, no matter how hard you work, you will always be the reflection of someone else, which makes perfect sense because in India, you're always compared to a Sharmaji ka beta somewhere.
So true.
Yeah. And also, when it's their time, does this mean that there's a time when the sun does not shine? Like...
Evidently, that implies it, right?
Yeah, implies it, right. So that's the problem with the base. Like,
no, but I strongly suspect, actually, that the sun is like magically turned off in the night. It's a waste of energy.
It's a waste of energy, I agree. So I have a problem with the basic premise over here. Actually, we can create a couple of other cosmic forwards like this, saying like, there's no comparison between the sun and the black hole. They will both eventually collapse, like your dreams of doing something meaningful with your life. Or there's no comparison between the sun and asteroids. Matt Damon will eventually have a movie where he tries to land on one or blow you up. So anyway.
Yeah, actually we should seriously make some of these forwards and see. It will be an interesting...
See if it actually
how much traction it gets.
Anyway, so this week we are actually going to unravel a phenomenon that's taken the world by storm, by audio storm actually. This happened, by the time you're listening to this, it will be approximately a month since the hysteria of this happened. This, of course, we are talking of the Laurel or Yanny audio phenomenon.
For it would have been so awesome if it was Laurel or Hardy. Right?
Yeah. So for those who haven't heard this, this is a sort of like audio illusion, the audio version of an optical illusion. And some people hear Laurel, some people hear Yanny. Here we are going to just kind of play the clip for you. So see which one you can hear actually.
Laurel. Laurel. Laurel.
So Naren, I'm curious, which one did you hear for the first time?
I heard Laurel.
Yeah,
I heard Laurel, and I heard Laurel in virtually every
rendition.
Sort of, I change instruments. I listen to it on other people's phones. I listen to it on my Bluetooth on my car. And everything. It was always. Laurel.
Yeah. So we'll get into why some people hear one or the other. But here's an interesting fact. When I was researching this, I obviously mean Wikipedia. This was the first time that when I was reading a Wikipedia article, I got a notification saying the Wikipedia article has been refreshed since you started reading. Click here to reload the new version. That's never happened to me before. Anyway, so Laurel or Yanny or Laurel is an auditory illusion that became popular in May 2018, to quote said Wikipedia article. In the brief audio recording, 53% of over 500,000 people answered on a Twitter poll that they heard a man saying the word Laurel, while the other 47% obviously heard the other. Okay, so a little bit about the origin of this recording, in case people haven't figured out what the origin of this is. It actually is... It was actually a clip taken from vocabulary.com where an opera singer called J. Aubrey Jones recorded 200,000 different words actually. He was commissioned to record 200,000 words, of which the word laurel was one of them. So the word is actually laurel, it's not Yanny. And he uploaded it, and there's a 15-year-old teenage, and like all memes start with an American teenager. So there was one here as well, and she was searching for the pronunciation of laurel, and somebody else heard the other, and then they had a debate about it, and then she posted on Instagram. One of her seniors picked it up and posted it to her Instagram, and then things just went gloriously viral.
So it wasn't a composed sort of illusion.
No, it wasn't composed. It's entirely accidental. It just took off from there. Is the usual sort of trajectory of memes: 15-year-old teenager, Reddit, magazines, websites, celebrities, and it sort of hit the White House along the way. If you saw that stupid White House video where somebody from the social media team thought that it would be an interesting idea to try and be topical, relevant, and quirky. So it had everyone from Ivanka Trump to Sarah Huckabee Sanders to, of course, the man himself, trying to weigh in their opinion of whether it was Laurel or Yanny. And
what did the idiot think it was?
The idiot said it was Kofefe. Which I have to admit was reasonably funny.
Yeah. He seriously
he's a bit of a twist. Yeah, a bit of a twist. So,
I'm beginning to like him actually.
Yeah. You heard it here first, folks. Anyway, and it became such a viral hit that new age that the keyboard player Yanny, he got involved along with the producer Laurel Halo. So they also had a little bit of a. So anyway, Naren, so what do you think? Why do different people hear one or the other?
I'm guessing that it's what frequencies you hear.
You have said the magic F word, which is indeed frequency. It all comes down to frequency. So Yanny is a higher frequency. Yanny. Whereas Laurel is a lower frequency. Laurel. If you can. Yanny, Laurel. So whatever. So older people, Naren, not to put too fine a point on this, lose the ability to hear higher frequencies. Yeah. Which is at odds with the fact that all these 15-year-olds are listening to EDM music. But anyway, that's a different point. So an audiologist says that there is a perceptual boundary. So do you know what the Necker cube is?
No, I don't. What
okay, so I wish I could actually show. This is one of the limitations of the audio medium. I can't show it to you. So when I ask you to draw a cube,
or the inversion.
You know what I mean? Yeah, the inversion, exactly. So, to everyone who's hearing that, I'm sure you've all drawn a cube during your geometry lessons at some point. So just close your eyes and imagine how you draw that cube without the dotted lines. That's very important. Without those dotted lines that hide away the lines at the back. So now you can see the cube facing in two different directions, right? So that is basically a Necker
either
cube.
Into the plane of the paper or out of the plane of the paper.
So you can have two different things. And as kids, we used to get like, oh, damn trippy. You see one or the other. And it's like one of those things. Once you see, you can't unsee, right?
Yeah.
And your eye gets fixed on one direction at one point of time. So that is sort of it. If you adjust the frequency, if you just take the audio clip, the one that we played a while back, the one that went viral, if you take that and you adjust the frequency of that, you will hear one versus the other, actually. So...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So if you take the MP3 file of that and you put it into an audio tool or something and you adjust the frequency, if you change the frequency
you could hear the same thing
as
same file. One or the other.
So in fact, the New York Times has a brilliant tool, which I will link in the description of this episode, where you can actually play with the frequency. So right in the middle, it's what it sounds like. But if you change it to the left, you start hearing more of Laurel because the frequency is higher. And it also shows a graph. It shows the graph of the sound also. And it's much more on the treble side. And the more you move it towards the bass, the more... And you can hear the transition. You can hear when it sounds like Laurel, Yanny. It's beautiful to actually hear that. So it's... I think that's the best possible way to explain this phenomenon. And there are a couple of other reasons also why different people hear... two people hear the same recording differently, and the same person hears it as Laurel one time and Yanny the other time. And that's basically various types of devices. So if you hear it on good speakers that say have a good mix of treble and bass, you might hear Laurel purely because the bass is accentuated over there. On the other hand, if you listen through it to a phone where the bass is virtually non-existent, you are more likely to hear the higher frequency.
So that's why
one.
many people are able to hear both of these at different times.
Because it's most likely that they're using different devices. It also depends on the setting that you're in. So suppose you're in a noisy setting, you might hear you might hear Yanny. Whereas if you're in the comfort of your room with your good pair of speakers on and it's quiet, you might hear the other. Another feature of the clip itself is it's actually very grainy, which also adds to the problem. Which also adds
to
the
resolution in itself is not that great.
So it's one of those classic cases of a bug becoming a feature actually. So that's actually it about Laurel and Yanny. But when I was doing research for this, I actually found a lot of other fascinating audio illusions. And we'll take a little break now. The break is not an audio illusion, actually. We will be going away for a while. But when we come back, I'm going to take you through some of the other very fascinating, some even better than Yanny and Laurel. So stay tuned for the other side.
Be right back.
Did you know that Parsis in Mumbai, instead of being left at the Tower of Silence after they die, are now cremated? And why? Because a cow fell sick in the early 1990s. Did you know that the smog in Delhi is caused by something that farmers in Punjab do and that there's no way to stop them? Did you know that there wasn't one gas tragedy in Bhopal, but 3? One of them was seen, but 2 were unseen. Did you know that many well-intentioned government policies hurt the people they're supposed to help? Why was demonetization a bad idea? How should GST have been implemented? Why are all our politicians so corrupt when not all of them are bad people? I'm Amit Verma, and in my weekly podcast, The Seen and the Unseen, I take a shot at answering all these questions and many more. I aim to go beyond the seen and show you the unseen effects of public policy and private action. I speak to experts on economics, political philosophy, cognitive neuroscience, and constitutional law so that the insights can blow not only my mind, but also yours. The Seen and the Unseen releases every Monday. So do check out the archives and follow the show at seenunseen.in. You can also subscribe to The Seen and the Unseen on whatever podcast app you happen to prefer.
Hello and welcome back. And like a bad audio illusion, we just keep coming back again and again. Naren, so in the first half, we sort of spoke about why Laurel, Yanny, and frequency. That's it. There's no more rocket science to it. The fact that different people hear things differently, the fact that you might be listening to different devices, that's really why there is no witchcraft at play. There's nothing. But then I dug into other audio illusions that there are. Like we've all seen optical illusions at some point. So it actually was fascinating to see, or rather to hear, audio illusions.
And those are not something you instinctively suspect exist.
Correct.
Because you tend to trust your hearing so much.
Yes. And that's a very fundamental part of why illusions actually work. So we'll play all these as well. So the first one I want to talk about is something called the shepherd tone. Have you ever heard of the shepherd tone?
No.
Okay, cool. So we are going to play it for you. So that clip sounded like it was, just rising and rising and rising. But the amazing thing about that was the frequency it doesn't increase. I mean, it increases for a while, but it actually doesn't increase continuously like
it
your brain.
Out.
Yeah. So what happens is this is actually made up of 3 sine waves. 2 of these sine waves keep increasing and the other one drops. And then that one increases and another one increases and then the one that's maximum drops. So these are 3 sine waves operating
on
at
the
different
average
heights.
it's the same. It's in the same band.
Yeah, exactly. And your brain actually registers only the 2 guys that are going up, ignoring the one that's going down. And here is when I read about this fascinating things. Your brain actually tries to take shortcuts for you. So this is an evolutionary bug that we have. Yeah, it's an evolutionary bug that we have. Again, everything goes back to evolution, and how your brain tries to make sense of the world. So in early days, when there was so much information for the human brain to take in, our senses, be it eyes, ears, smell, touch, they tried to simplify the world. They tried to make mnemonics out of the world so that the primitive brain could process it. And to some extent, we still have that primitive brain. Yeah. Ideally, we should have a world in which those 3 sine waves, we can filter each of those 3 out. But our brain is trying to take shortcuts. It's almost like a FLAC file is becoming an MP3 in your head. Sorry, that is unnecessarily geeky. That's really why illusions, be it optical or auditory, really happen. And
it's your brain trying to do some compression and give you a lot of information in a
that
very
is pretty much
time.
it. It's almost like he doesn't need to know that sine wave, that one wave is going down. We'll tell him that those 2 waves are going up. That's all that matters out of this.
And actually, in evolutionary terms, it was very, very short time ago that we were hunter-gatherers out in the wild at the...
Yeah, pretty much all this.
So all those
moving from tools to sitting, talking about play or in a podcast studio happened very, very in a snap of fingers on the evolutionary scale. And the shepherd's stone, by the way, is a tool that has been used in a lot of pop culture. Actually, have you seen the movie Dunkirk?
Dunkirk, yes.
Yeah. So a lot of the composer for that, Hans Zimmer, he uses this actually a lot in his movies to stunning effect in Dunkirk. So you don't notice it because it's something that plays in the background, right? But it's great for building tension. It just keeps going up.
It just keeps going up
and up and up, and that eerie tension just keeps building in the background. So he's used that to great effect. Pink Floyd has a song called Echoes, where again they use it. So there's a part there's a part in the middle which uses the shepherd tone. So that's one audio effect. Shepherd. That's SHEPARD, not shepherd as in guy who runs sheep, or the glorious English umpire who used to jump whenever the score was 1-1. The second auditory effect, and this is an interesting one, Naren, is called binaural beats. Okay, so this is type of recording called binaural, which you might have heard of, which very much replicates a 3D stage around your head.
Yeah, like binocular vision, it's binocular.
Correct. Exactly. Yeah. It's exactly that. So in fact, there's this very popular clip on YouTube which replicates a barber experience binaural. And it's actually very creepy. You actually hear the clip coming and clip, whatever. Oh, in fact, we have a recording of it right here. Here we go.
And I bring the clippers closer to your ear. Very closer to the right ear. Follow me as I move around the back of the head to the left ear.
So now binaural beats, this is fascinating. You know the concept of beats itself, right? Like when waves overlap, whatever that happens. Now,
maybe an explanation is in order.
Yes. So now, this is damn interesting. Binaural beats, and this has to work only with headphones. It doesn't work with speakers. So how a beat happens is 2 waves sort of overlap and create that pulse. Tung, 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 whatever. That's how a beat is created. Now, if there is only one... So this happens when there are 2 waves of different frequencies. That's when...
Very close to each other.
Yeah, very close to each other, and that's when a beat happens. One frequency by itself cannot create a beat.
Correct.
Right? Yeah. Now, what binaural beats does is, it splits up the audio into 2, one left and one right, and 2 frequencies, one coming from your left ear and one coming from your right ear. Okay. So, when you put your headphones on, you can feel the beat.
Oh.
Because the awesome thing about it is, if you
the
lift
beats are happening inside
your brain, and it really works because you lift up one cup of your headphones, you hear only one frequency without the beat. You put both of them on, suddenly you have dung 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 again.
I thought it was a physical phenomenon. How does that happen?
So, physical phenomenon is when it's recorded together.
Yeah.
So, when beats...
Because there's the 2 waveforms which are overlapping, and then the peaks coincide and make a larger peak. Crests coincide and make a larger crest.
Couldn't have put it better myself. So usually most music has frequencies coming together, which is why you hear the beats on speakers and what have you. But binaural recordings like this split up the two frequencies into two channels, one for your left ear and one for your right ear. So the beat actually works in your brain.
So what is happening probably is that the frequencies that hit your ears are getting translated into some electrical impulses going inside the brain, and there they are combining, and then
could not have put it better myself. So that's actually what happens. There's a lot, and now here is where the snake oil part of this particular audio illusion comes into play. So there's long been a lot of history around left brain versus right brain. The two halves of your brain should communicate to each other and all that, and it's still sort of like science, pseudoscience somewhere there. But there are entire industries built on binaural beats, selling binaural beats therapy and things like that. Yeah. So there are many apps.
This is in the category of magnet therapy and
yes and no actually. While there is obviously a fair amount of snake oil in this business, actually it seems to be while there's no documented evidence, there's a fair amount of anecdotal evidence saying that this actually works and it actually helps me concentrate on my studies and things like that. There's this app which I've just downloaded. I haven't tried it out myself. It's called brain.fm. And it actually has a few of these techniques, and all the reviews seem like legit, actually.
It's very interesting.
So I'm going to sort of try it out. So that's a illusion called binaural beats, and it's actually fascinating. We'll play a clip over here, and what I want listeners to do is first hear the entire clip, or rather just hear a part of it, and then lift, just take out one earbud or lift up one part of it. If you're listening to it on speakers or something, obviously it won't work. You need to hear it on two different channels, and you will see the two different frequencies and how the beat is actually being made inside your own brain. So there we go. Happy hippocampus. So that's a fascinating thing called binaural beats. The third illusion is something not as fascinating but still pretty fascinating by itself. Is something called the scale illusion. This is when your brain automatically adjusts two random things from two different channels so as to create two distinct melodies. And this I've noticed many times when two people play guitar at the same time on two different scales. Now, on one channel, you have a series of 5 notes that doesn't sound very pleasant, and you have something similar, 5 different notes, again doesn't sound very pleasant on another channel. And so when you play it together, your brain somehow says, hey, these two from the left channel and these two from the right channel go very nicely together, so let's merge them together so it sounds pleasant. And the leftovers from both left and right channel, they seem to go nicely together. So it's like two different broken melodies coming together in your head.
Is this something which is used in composing a lot?
No, not really, because
it just accidentally happens.
It just accidentally happens. But this is, there are several examples online to show how this works. But I guess unintentionally it sort of works, because many songs that I've heard in rock and metal which use two different guitars playing leads at the same time, they're like parts of one guitar merging with the other. It sounds like two different things. So I thought that was again pretty fascinating. But again, this goes back to what I said in the beginning. It's like,
and would that be person dependent? Like, would you find it pleasing and I not find it pleasing?
I don't think so actually, because again, it's on
it's pretty
it's pretty standard that way. The pleasing
so that
scales
piece of music will be popular.
Yeah. It's like a pleasing scale at the end of the day, right? Again, this is pretty fascinating. It's again all about how your brain is trying to take shortcuts for you and showing what it thinks that you might like the most. I thought that was actually damn nice.
Yeah, that is one of the things that I find completely fascinating about the human brain is this incredible complexity and the amount of complexity it reveals. The more people study it, the more
questions actually come up.
Confoundingly complex it appears.
A couple more. When you repeat a pattern or a word or a sentence repeatedly for a while, if you noticed a song forms in your head, again, that's again your brain playing tricks on you. That's called the, there's no name for that. It's just repeating it for a while. And one of the most fascinating effects that I've seen, and this again needs to be seen actually, it's a audio cum visual illusion. It's called the McGurk effect. Okay. So the best explanation of the McGurk effect is, you see a person saying something, your eyes are registering his mouth moving, and your ears are registering
what he's saying,
the sound that is coming, and your brain has equated that the movement of that mouth and the sound that's created are the same, correlated, even though they could possibly be different, like if a ventriloquist was involved or he was just miming or something of that sort. So this is video of a guy saying the word ba, okay, just ba, over and over again, and you see how his mouth moves, like ba, whatever, and then he changes his mouthing to mouth out fa. No, so you can just picture it in your head when you're listening to this, fa.
Fa would be very different from ba, right?
Yeah, correct. But he's still playing ba. But when you see him mouthing fa, your brain actually registers fa. And when you look at that video,
if you close your eyes, you'll hear
ba, but when you open your eyes, you see fa, even though it's exactly the same. And there is nothing you can do to beat this. That's the beautiful part. So I saw a video where a guy says, I've been studying these illusions and stuff for 25 years. I can't fool myself. Like, this is the way our brains are wired. I thought that was fascinating. And this is called the McGurk effect. I'm assuming the gentleman called McGurk at some point of time was involved going around driving the town batty saying ba and fa all the time. This is also, by the way, closely related to the Laurel and Yanny effect. If you play that clip and you're mouthing Laurel, chances are the recipient is going to hear Laurel purely because
you're mouthing Laurel.
Wow. This is also related to the other. So everything that we spoke about, there's another illusion, there's audio illusion that's doing the rounds right now, which is the brainstorm green needle illusion. We'll play a clip here for your benefit. This is possibly the freakiest of the lot because it actually adjusts, you can actually think, whatever you're thinking actually comes to life. We'll just play it again. So just try it. So if you're thinking brainstorm, it says brainstorm. If you're thinking green needle, it says green needle. If you're thinking brain needle or even green storm, it does that as well. So just try it. We'll just play it again once more. So there again, this is a classic example of your brain trying to fill in. It's like a McGurk effect in your head. It's again all comes back to brain trying to make sense of this complex world and simplifying it for you. So I read this online somewhere, and I'm quoting: the brain has lots of experience with a voice saying one thing at a time. When there are two possibilities, the brain has to pick which one seems more likely. So again, it's your brain choosing for you. In this case, if you're thinking green needle, it makes the acoustic cues that match those sound stronger. So that's what you hear. So if you're thinking brainstorm, then those cues are stronger. So that's what you hear instead. This is a great reminder that everything we think we experience via the senses is just our brain's best guess at reality.
That is
amazing, right?
So what really is reality?
Wow. This has taken another turn.
It's absolutely.
You might actually be very different from what I'm seeing.
Yeah, I've always wondered that. So what I see as green.
Oh, this is another question.
Yeah.
And the thing is, you will never answer that question. We can never answer the question if what I see as red is what you see as red. Optical illusions actually work very similarly, but instead of your ears, you're using your eyes. And this is exactly it, your brain trying to fill in parts for you. It's a little more difficult to explain optical illusions through a podcast format for obvious reasons. But yeah, that's pretty much, that's the basic explanation is still the same. It's your brain trying to make sense of various things that you see. Like, for example, there is something called lateral inhibition, where bars that appear like they're of different colors are actually the same color, because just because of the gradient and the light and the background, etc. So the simple thing is there are two circles of the exact same color. You take out one circle and place it on a very light background, it appears darker. You take the other small circle and put it in a very dark background, it looks lighter. So if you say which of the smaller circles is lighter, you will obviously pick one over the other. Whereas in reality, both are exactly the same. And that's amazing. It's like your brain again trying to fill in those cues for you. You might not have heard the name Hermann grid, but you've probably seen it somewhere, which is just basically, imagine lots of black squares with a little bit of space between them. Your brain automatically fills in the space between the corners, the 4 different corners of 4 different squares. It fills it up with a little grey dot or a little grey circle. And that's again your brain doing work for you. So Naren, to sum up, the 3 greatest illusions of all time. One, I think, is the audio. The third on the list is the audio illusion.
Asia Pacific.
Audio illusion, brainstorm, green needle. Illusion number 2, the optical illusion of the Hermann grid, and illusion number 1, the real life illusion that there is indeed freedom. So
well played.
Yes.
And with that cheery note,
what is? Question, like we've always been taught to question authority, ask the question why, but now you're actually questioning reality itself. So
what is real?
What is reality? Well, till then, now you have a smarter answer if somebody brings up Yanny and Laurel in a party, albeit a party that happened 1 month after the viral phenomenon died out. But hey,
but that's the art of it is to bring. If you know something, the art of it is to take the conversation there. It's like people who have a Rolex watch. They keep trying to bring Rolex into the conversation.
Correct.
Yeah.
So
and the best way of trolling them is to not.
Correct. So this is an absolute deviation. But back in the day when I used to go to B schools and make a fool of myself on stage by doing stand-up, I used to have this sketch around different characters who make it to a group discussion. There was one guy who was a know-it-all because he knew everything everything on Wikipedia, and he was an obnoxious goof because he keep putting in random stats everywhere. But one of my favorite characters in a GD is what I call the one stat wonder. A guy who knows exactly, he's read one article from Business Today and he remembers 1 point from it, and he will find a way, no matter what the topic is, to bring that one fact in. So if indeed it was the Rolex watch, then it will start like Africa is really bad. But Africa, did you know that diamonds are mined over there? It's there in the Rolex watch. So everything. Yeah. Tennis, it'll go to, do you know where the only digital, do you know that Wimbledon Centre Court is the only digital Rolex watch in the world? Oh, Rolex, by the way, here is there. And they're casually dropping trivia also for you guys. So that's about it. See you guys next week on another Simplified, which will not be an auditory illusion. Bye
and see you soon.
There she stands, a podcast addict, outside the bank, having travelled several miles to get in with other poor souls like her. The journey, though daunting for this youngling, will have some comfort because she has downloaded her favourite podcast. You can see more of her species on ivmpodcasts.com, your one-stop destination where you can check out the coolest Indian podcasts. Happy listening.